Hi, my name is Donna, or for Nick, it's Dana. Did I get the USA accent right? And I'm making a journal for Nik The Booksmith's challenge, and her challenge is called the Deserted Island Journal Challenge. Now for this challenge, there are 4 givens and 4 chosens. Now the givens are what Nick has selected for us to use. They are glue, a needle and thread, and a pair of scissors and some papers. Now I've used tea dye paper that I've just used cheap old copy paper and tea dyed it. So they're my givens. I'll show you my chosen. Double-sided. It's heavy paper. It's not really cardstock. And I have a 153-year-old book that I pulled apart just for this challenge. It is perfect. It really looks like it's been battered and beaten up and hanging around an island for a long time or washed up on the beach. So it fits the story really well. And this was actually made in Australia. It was printed on a steam machine printer in 1864. So that's my book cover. I hope it holds out because it's pretty beat up. And I have the distress ink. I'm using gathered twigs, and that is classed as one item, the blender and the ink, and I'm using a Copic marker. Okay, here's my book that I'm putting in for Nik The Booksmith, the Deserted Island Journal Challenge. My book cover is 153 years old. It's been made in Australia. It was originally from printers in Pitt Street in Sydney. And the book itself, before I took the pages out of it, was printed using an old steam printer. So it was a steam-powered printer. So it is a perfect cover for this journal. So you can see it's all pretty washed up looking. Once I used it, it actually becomes stronger, so it's no longer as fragile as it was when I first got it. So you can see it is a cloth book cover, and it has the old heavy card for bookbinding card on the inside of it, and embossed. Now you can see I didn't use the stitches showing through. I put 2 signatures in, and I used the end pages to sew my signatures in. So these were the end pages. I actually folded them back in, the front ones. That is the front bookend, the bookend page. I folded it in there and then sewed the signatures onto that, and then glued that down into the spine, which gave it some more strength, and it wasn't so fragile. The book belonged to Enoch Clark, and that's her handwriting there at the front. So I'll start showing you through. This is the book plate that I made. Everything in here is hand drawn, and I've used the pen and the distress ink to do that. So that's my book plate, and I've just written that it was for the Deserted Island Journal. I've made a corner pocket here using my 12 by 12 sheet, or a part of it, and I made up a telegram, which I'll quickly read to you. This is a sad day for all of us who were inspired by Nik The Booksmith, for she has been lost at sea. Donna. Well, so I just thought I'd put a bit of humour in there just for you, Nick. You seem to be always picking on Donna. So there's my reply. Over this page, I've got a tag. Oh, well, it's a pocket with fake brads in the corners. And this is just a frame using the distress ink, and I just used the smaller pad, so I just tilted it on its side and done that after I used it as a blender, and that's also a pocket. Right here I've made a section for frames, so some memories can be put on here, and that one there is actually a window, so I've just put that there as a placeholder that can be pulled out and a photo glued on there, or taken out altogether and photos can be glued on there. This is a pocket and it's from both sides. It can be used, and it's got a fake paper lace on the edge that folds out, and there's my map of Australia. I've just listed a few areas. Cooktown up here, that's where I was born, up at this top end of Australia, and I now live down here near Sydney. So that's just a place for journaling. Here's another place for photographs to be put on later. This is another deep pocket, and just a quote from the 12 by 12 paper sheet. I've left the centre of the signature blank for future use. The book did start to get a little bit thick, so I had to back off a bit. Again, this is for journaling. I just used the edge of the ink marker here. I just tilted it on its edge and made some lines, and there's some hand-drawn, like to mimic the watercolour effect of some loose flowers. Here I've hand written about some of the Australian birds, and another piece of the colour card that was on my 12 by 12, and drew a little picture of a blue wren, and then popped a nest over on this side to give it some balance, and that's also a pocket. I've got some scrap paper here just to show you that's a pocket. And this is from early days, a sketch of Botany Bay. This was before it was made into a built-up area, and that there is just a distance marking for the side of the map. Again, I've left this blank for journaling. The book started getting a bit thick, and that's just the thread I used. I used 100% cotton thread in the book, and I tea dyed it before I started. When I was tea dyeing my paper, I tea dyed the cotton thread. Cotton takes the dye colours much better than a synthetic thread, so it's natural, and I let the tea bag sit here and there on top of the cotton, which gave it a variegated look. And that's just another little journaling card to give it a bit more interest there. That's another journaling card, and another quote from the paper. I left that blank for journaling. Another journal card with hand-drawn dots on that, just like a grid page. Another journaling card. Actually, it's a journaling tag. And I braided the string and then just roughed it up with my scissors. That's just blended. Using the blender, I just coloured the whole sheet and folded it over and got some darker lines on it. This is a postcard that was to be sent home to my family while I was on the cruise ship Disney. Again, another place for more journaling there, and I haven't fixed it in. Again, the book was getting a little bit too thick. And this is another tuck spot, and because there was a film picture on the 12 by 12 sheet, I turned that into a journaling card on the back, and then I made up a handwritten. It's a bit hard to try and mimic typewriter, old-fashioned typewriter, but you know, I was getting a little bit, started off small and got a little bit big, but it still gave the right effect in the end. So this is just like a advertisement back from the 1800s of a play that was playing at the Theatre Sydney in March 1800. So that's just there to go in the tuck spot, and there's the tickets to go to the play. The tickets, I use the needle to perforate in between the tickets, so that can actually be ripped off and separated for the tickets. So I just glued them there so that they didn't, I could have tucked them in there, but they just sort of balanced the page nicely by gluing them over there. Another blank page, and this is just a faux fabric style tag, and with some hand stitching on the edge, just scrunching up papers and gluing them down and making a paper flower with some leaves and using some of the leftover thread. And that can be used as a book mark, and a pocket there left on the center of the signature for use for later. Another blank spot and another journaling spot here. Another tag, which is just a little bit of faux fabric again, and a string on it, and some hand-drawn stamping in the corner. Another 2 corner tuck spots. And this one is the notepad for notes, and this is just like the envelope. I've just used some string to wrap around that, and it's got a little postcard style thing in it, so just wrap that around. I actually used a tiny little scrunched up bit of paper and glued in there just to give that a little bit of a raise so I could wrap that string around easily. And this is just a writing portfolio, using up some of the papers again and putting a big cross stitch on it. Just a little stack of, again, I used a little stack of writing papers. I just used the edge of the ink pad to put the lines in for that. And another roughly made envelope, just to give the idea that it is a writing portfolio. And the last page is just where I glued down the page end, as I explained earlier. So there's my deserted island journal that Nik Booksmith has challenged us with. I will be selling this book. It will be available on my website if anybody is interested in it and they would like to ask me about it. Just send me a private message if I don't get to put it up on my website before you would like to talk to me about it. I really enjoyed making this challenge. I've had a month off, and this is the first bit of crafting I've done since having that time off. So thanks, Nik. I really do enjoy watching your videos, and I can't wait to see some more and perhaps enter in the next challenge that you do. I'm Donna, the creative for Art Craft Crazy. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. You can see the watermark there. There's a handwritten signature here that's, I think it says Enoch Clark, and it's got this beautiful little scroll that's just disappeared down to the edge of the page. I've used tea-dyed copy paper in A4 size and just ripped the top, sides and bottoms. This is a picture of my Nana when she was 15 years old, so that would have been early 1900s. I thought it was perfect that she was standing on a yacht. That gives you an idea what that would look like if you were to put a vintage photo in that placeholder. This here, all I've done was braided the cotton and then dragged the top piece here. I dragged that through the ink like that and then just twisted it around the outside. So I have a little bit of Australian history here if anyone is interested in buying this journal from me. If you would love to have it, just send me a message and I'll get back to you.